is great because I at least consider you one of the kind of the godfathers of indie Black comics. You got people out there like Larry Fuller, who did Ebon. You got Richard Grass Green. You got Dawood and the Sim Brothers, Jatel
Yeah.
Only, and then you. I mean, like, you were one of the early ones. You helped produce the Robotech comics. You created Shuriken. You created Jam Quacky. You created Crescent, Kids of the King, and now Afro Boy and Puff Girl.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about yourself. How did you get into creating comics?
Oh man, I think like every person who creates comic books or writes them or illustrates them professionally or just for fun, it always started with being influenced by what they enjoyed when it came to pop culture. And with me, I always enjoyed Marvel comics, and as I got a little bit older, I enjoyed Japanese anime, classic Warner Brother cartoons, anything that I could see, read, or enjoy with my eyes and ears. It inspired me to want to create my own. I remember as far back as high school, I was drawing my own comics, stapling them together and selling them to classmates.
That's awesome. Always an entrepreneur.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think jumping into the professional aspect for the first time, it was, 1985.
Wow.
I lived in Norristown, Pennsylvania, which is 30 miles outside of Philadelphia. And in that small town, I remember one day walking down one of the main streets, DeKalb Street, and I passed by a regular row home, which had a sign out front that said what I thought was pronounced Comico, Comico. And I was with a friend. I said, Comico? I'm like, that sounds like a comic book company. And my friend was like, yeah, right, whatever. You got to be kidding me. In Norristown? No. Okay, so here's the crazy part. And even the owners that are still around of Comico, which was the name of the company, they know this story. I went back to their building later that evening, went around the back of their building and grabbed one of their trash bags out of their trash can that was sitting out in the alley, took the bag home, opened up the trash bag and saw all this, paraphernalia advertising that this new comic book company was coming out and how they were going to publish their own comic books. And, I was like, it is a comic book company.
You struck gold.
Instead of knocking on the door and just, I went through the trash. So I approached them a few days later and said, look, I'm, at the time I think I had just finished high school and I was in art school. And I approached them and, asked them, did they need me help there? I wanted to draw comic books. And they were so cordial. One of the publishers, who's one of my best friends even now, Jerry Giovinco, Jerry was like, no, we don't need any help or anything like that. But, you feel free to come by and hang out with us. And, you draw comics and, you love comics. You can hang around with us and we can show you how things work here, how the industry works. And it became a friendship. With Jerry, Phil Lasorda, God rest his soul, Bill Cuccinata, they were the founding members of Comico. And I think after a number of months of just coming out and hanging out with them, and they finally offered me a position. They offered me a job as a gopher, which was office guy, go for this, go for that, feed the cat, help them ship books out to the public, to the printer, But the whole time I worked for them as a gopher, as an office person, I learned the whole mechanics of self-publishing comic books. And back then, this was 1985, where a lot of, small fledgling companies was just starting to publish their own comic books.
Yeah.
And as you know, Comico grew from being a very small publisher to a major force in the independent market, where they ended up publishing Mage and Grendel, Johnny Quest, and so many other Elemental, so many other products. And then of course they got the rights to do Robotech as three different comic books. I think after about a year, they offered me a position to draw one of the Robotech comic books that they had just gotten the rights from to do as a comic book, from Harmony Gold, who had gotten the rights from the Japanese anime company, to do the American version of the cartoon. So for 2 years, I was blessed to be one of the illustrators on Robotech. I was illustrating Robotech New Generation.
That's really
which
awesome.
originally was
Did you premiere on issue 2 or 3?
I started in issue 2
of
Robotech New Generation. But actually before that, I drew like 3 issues of Robotech Macross.
Oh, wow.
Before New Generation came out. So that was, man, it was like a dream come true. Dream come true.
My brother growing up was a huge Robotech fan. And so because he was being little brother, I was. And so I texted him the other day and said, do you still have all your Robotech comic books somewhere? He's like, yeah, probably. Why? I was like, wow. Find them.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to start digging. I need to just hit Google and start, finding all of the books that I've done and buying at least one copy of each. I have about maybe like 3 or 4 of the Robotechs, but that's about it. I need to have them all. Yeah, you do. Nostalgic.
We might fight each other on eBay over them though. So
man, I forget the name, but there is an online comic book not distributor, but a wholesaler that sells collectibles. Lone Star Comics.
Oh yeah.
You can find a lot of Robotech books there, I believe.
Yeah, so mycomicshop.com, I think, is their URL.
Yeah, I got to check them out.
Yeah, you do. Well, awesome. So, do you remember your first comic book?
Official or professional, or just
you, kid Reggie, growing up? What was your first comic?
yeah, I do. Okay. Armadillo. The Armadillo, that was my first comic book character and staple together comic that I created. About this guy who I can still see him clearly in my head. He had Batman ears. He had on like an armor that went across this way all the way down the front. And he could roll up into a ball.
Of course. I mean, he'd have to, right?
Yeah, right. But that was I remember the first one, Armadillo.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So are you reading comics now? What comics are you into right now?
Man, you know what? I'm not really regularly reading anything.
Really?
It's like, dude, when I hit the comic book store, when I get a chance to, because adulting, man. Husband, father, man, it's like, my wife's like, comic book store, why are you going there? Usually now, I don't collect anything. I just purchase what just strikes my fancy when I'm in the store, I think I remember buying, what was that book called? Oh my goodness. I remember buying an issue of X-Men. I don't even know what it was called. I purchased an issue of X-Men just before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
And I didn't know what the heck was going on. Because I mean, I was a major X-Men fan back in the day when John Byrne X-Men. Yeah. Those were like the ultimate,
Yeah.
But I think the latest thing that I bought was that X-Men, and also a copy of I think it was a Doctor Strange team of teenagers.
Yeah. Strange Academy.
The Strange Academy, Humberto Ramos. Oh my God. When I saw it was his artwork, I was like, I gotta have this.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, indeed. But I pretty much just buy whatever, strikes me. I love a lot of the independent stuff. Tuskegee Airs by Mark Berman and Marcus Williams. I love Tuskegee Airs. Still grab a couple DC books here and there, a couple Marvel books, but I'm all over the place.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I just got done reading the first volume of Tuskegee Airs, and I loved it.
Yeah, so well done. Well done.
So, you've had a lot of different collaborations over the years. Have you had a favorite collaborator?
When I think about it, I think when it came to collaborations, the one that I enjoyed the most was way back when I created Shuriken. Shuriken, I illustrated the first 5 issues, I believe, or 4 issues. Yes, sir. Kyoko Shidara. Michio Akamura, I don't even know where he is, but he was the illustrator of issues, I think, 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was just amazing, and an amazing artist. And I don't even think he even draws anymore. I think he owns like a software company now.
Oh, wow.
But that was an amazing collaboration, and it really was more of a collaboration of, I published it, he drew and wrote it. It wasn't. I didn't even have a creative hand in it, and
Wow.
he just blew my mind with these 2 issues of a shuriken that he created, and he was just so easy to work with, just a really cool dude. I think that I would have to say that's probably one of my favorite collaborations.
That's really cool. So you have a brand new book out now, just
Yes,
hot off the printers. I've got my copy just the other day.
Yes, indeed.
Afro Boy and Puff Girl. Where did you get the idea? What's happened so far? What's next? Is there going to be an issue 2?
Absolutely. Well, I created Afro Boy and Puff Girl 5 years ago. In 2015, I created it, and at the time, I wanted to create something funny, and I, growing up being a big anime and manga fan, I was still am big Astro Boy fan, and I said I wanted to create something that paid homage to Astro Boy. I said, hey, Afro Boy, that would be kind of funky. And I started scouring the internet. I was like, there's no Afro Boy. I mean, there are Afro Boys out there. There's a musician named Afro Boy. There are people who are making T-shirts with, Astro Boy with an afro, but I said Afro Boy. And I started piddling around and sketching the character. And, I said, let me give him a little sidekick, Puff Girl. And it was meant to be more of a Batman and Robin situation, meant to be very comical and fun. And he was going to be this kid whose afro grew every time he had to go out and fight crime. And it started getting to the point where I wanted to create something that meant something instead of just being fun. My background has always been, whenever I was creating self-created characters, that it had to touch kids in a way where it caused them to not only enjoy the story, but to be able to critically think and use what they read in the story in their regular life, even though the story is just meant to be entertainment. And so Afro Boy ended up becoming AFRO, and AFRO in Afro Boy stands for Achiever, Focused, Responsible, and Outstanding. So no matter what race you are, no matter what culture you are an Afro Boy if you want to strive to be an achiever, focused, respectful, and outstanding. Puff Girl, PUFF, stands for, proud, proud, I'm about to say unique, proud, uplifting, fighting female. Girls, always be proud of who you are, be uplifting and always speak positive. Be a fighter, be someone who stands up for something positive. And always be proud of being a girl. Always be
wondered
proud of
if one of the F's stood for firecracker, because Puff Girl is a firecracker. She does
not.
I love her. I love her character. I have 2 young daughters, and they are Puff Girl. They are just awesome.
That's right.
Yep.
Man, me growing up, I've always admired, not in a weird sense, but always admired women and girls, because I believe they're just so powerful. Without, women, this earth will not go on. And, I wound up having nothing but daughters, So my thing is, I used to go into schools and talk to kids about drugs and violence and conflict resolution and peer mediation. And it was always a special situation when I talked to girls, because I always would say, everything I'm teaching you in this class, I'm telling you the same thing that I would tell my own daughters. You know what I mean? And so girls are so special. You know what I mean? So the more they're empowered, the more they realize that they have to love themselves, the better. And so Puff Girl is just look, I'm saucy, but don't play with me.
Love her. She was a nice surprise in there as I was reading the story. It's perfect. And for you guys out there who haven't ordered it yet, go over to Reggie's page and buy it, and you'll be equally as surprised and delighted by both characters.
Thank you. Yeah, we put it out 2 weeks ago, finally. After 5 years, it finally came out. And it took 5 years because I was working on it off and on, taking my time. And for the most part, 90% of the time, I was always freelancing, illustrating for other people, drawing other people's comic books, drawing other people's children's books, logo designs. And it was so weird. Just when this pandemic happened, I had nothing but time on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, let me commit, just finish the book, because, I was only like 8 pages away from being finished. So I finished the book, got it to the printer. When it came back 2 weeks ago, just from Facebook shares and Instagram shares, we sold out of the small print run that we printed. They're gone. Gone. And so we have another printing of number 1. And matter of fact, I just got an email saying they'll be here on Wednesday.
Awesome.
And about 50 of those are already gone. So, it's something else. One of my friends said, Reggie, it's unfortunately, because of the way things are right now in our country racially, it's the timing. It's like people are seeing this positive little, Black character, and people are eating it up, and it's positive. Yeah. And, so it's a blessing in disguise. It really is.
Well, that's awesome. It's been great. And tell everybody, we'll say it again at the end, but where can they buy the comic book or the next printing of it?
AfroBoyPuffGirl.com. Just right. AfroBoyPuffGirl.com is the web address.
Very cool. So, you hinted at what's going on in the country right now. Really sucks, but it's nothing new for the live Black experiences. You well know, as I'm just learning. But just also launched a new online graphic novel that you're producing that kind of speaks to the time, also called Rage and Hope.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Well, Rage and Hope, originally I meant for it to be an online graphic novel, but I'm actually going to go ahead and print it as a series. It's going to be 6 issues, and then I'll pack them all together as a graphic novel. I felt that doing it online might be a little rough because of the fact being it's pretty much like 18 and older. Right. And it's 18 and older readers, so I couldn't post that to be read daily or weekly on the same page as Afro Boy and Puff Girl. That
makes sense. You don't want to mix the messages.
So what I'm doing now, I'm just I'm developing it. I'm working on it. I do realize that I think I'll have the first one done and out by August.
Oh wow!
But Rage and Hope is really meant to be almost like a I guess a narration on what's going on right now in this country and what has been going on for the past 400 years. Yeah. And the reason it's called Rage and Hope because it will show the rage from the perspective of Black people and from the perspective of everyone else who's in their corner when it comes to racial discrimination and the hatred and the unfairness. It's a narration through the eyes of 6 different characters in the story. Really cool. And these 6 different people will represent 6 different people from the spectrum. A young lady who's a protester, from the perspective of a young man who is a rioter, from the perspective of a Black man who's a police officer who considers himself caught in the middle of all of this and has conflicting emotions.
Yeah.
From the perspective of a sympathizer, a young white young lady who is just like, look, I'm down. Whatever it needs to, I can do to help. I believe it. Look, my mom marched with Martin Luther King. My grandma marched with Martin Luther King. I'm with it. Let's go. To infiltrators. There'll be a couple of infiltrators who are just like, look, I'm down. I'm with it. But while you guys are out here protesting, I'm going to go spray Black Lives Matter on the front of this store, and just kind of cause a little more drama, So it's meant to be very controversial, but also to open up conversation and understanding and to challenge the readers to, no matter who you are, to say, what can I do to make things go forward in the right direction?
Yeah.
And so it's meant to be really, really. And I believe, my thing is this is meant to be something that's got to come out of me to be my particular voice on this whole matter. Some people are great speakers. Some people are great organizers, mobilizers. Some people are good at starting organizations. And, the gentleman, Sean King, he's amazing at just calling out, atrocities, from whoever's doing it. My voice has always been sequential art. So, I'm going to stay in my lane and do what I do best. But I'm really, really excited. This is something and the reason it's called Rage and Hope, because the rage side I just explained. The hope side is the fact that no matter how bad things have gotten, no matter how bad things have always been, most everyone still has a hope that things can get better.
Yeah.
So, you know, these two sides of that spectrum are presented throughout the whole series. So this isn't an angry graphic novel. It's angry and it's hopeful to the point where people are crying one minute when they're reading, laughing one minute when they're reading, you know, just happy when they're reading it because they're seeing that this is coming from a human experience and that, you know, we all want to get, or most of us want to get to the same conclusion.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I have a 12-year-old son who's black, and Afro Boy and Puff Girl's great for my younger kids. Rage and Hope sounds like it'd be a great read for him. So
yes, indeed.
Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
So it looks like maybe Crescent is coming back this year, also one of your early creations.
Yeah, man, dude, it's like, Crescent was created out of pain because when I first created Crescent, I was hurting and I was missing my first creation, and that was Shuriken. Shuriken, through a series of events that's no one's fault but my own, Shuriken is now owned by Marvel Disney.
Oh, wow.
No joke. And that happened as a result of when I got to the point of being tired of publishing Shuriken, and I was, you know, getting into airbrushing, and I wanted to open a store. I was like, I'm walking away from comics. And so one of the additional publishers who did a second series, Blade of Shuriken, Eternity, out in California. The publisher said, you know what, it would be wonderful. Why don't you just put the character in our hands and let us take care of it. We'll continue doing it for you, pay royalties, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I signed some strange behind contract, you know, and I didn't even care. I was like, you know what, you guys can, you know, have the character, which was unspeakable. You know, why would I even, look, we're talking 20-something, you know, dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
Gave them the character, you know, signed an agreement for residual rights for a certain amount of years. And next thing I knew, the character was no longer mine. I was no longer, you know, I can no longer get residuals. And funny thing, Eternity Comics turned into Malibu Comics. Then Malibu Comics got bought by Marvel. Then Marvel got bought by
Disney.
So this character, and believe me, a few times I've reached out to Marvel and Disney to try to see if I can get the rights back, because the bottom line is the Shuriken that they do have, which they haven't used in probably almost 10 years, was a Shuriken that they recreated. Different character name, no longer Kyo Shadara. She was a mutant, you know, part of an X-Men offshoot team. And it's not the Shuriken character that I created, but I hit walls several times trying to get through and get the character back. So I ended up creating another strong female butt kicker. So I created
Crescent.
Which is, you know, I hadn't seen that many, you know, Egyptian heroines at all.
Yeah, no.
You know, so I created So I created a character who was an archaeologist by day, but she was kind of schizophrenic because at night she would go out and kick people's butt who were, you know, oppressing the downtrodden. And she come to find out there's a storyline behind where she's a direct descendant of King Akhenaten. And Akhenaten was the only pharaoh in Egypt who was looked upon as a heretic because he was so different. He was so different. His art was different. You know, the way he portrayed family life was different. He portrayed himself in art as a very fallible looking human being instead of, you know, walk like an Egyptian. You know, all this artwork was just like, really like, yo, dude, he depicted himself with a pot belly, you know? Right. And so Crescent was meant to be a direct descendant of his 6 daughters, and which explains why she is the way she is at night. And so we created that 10 issue. Yep. And ever since then, I never went back. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so myself and Aaron Beatty, who was the inker of that issue, are collaborating now on putting a new series out, probably by the end of the year, by December or no later than January. This thing is going to be so beautiful because it's going to be in full color and it's going to be completely painted.
Oh, wow.
I'm painting. I'm going back to art school. I mean, I'm not going back to art school, but I'm taking it back like I was in art school. I'm painting this whole book in gouache, you know, realism, realism that I haven't done since I was in art school in 1982.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm capable of doing some beautiful painting, but you know, I haven't. So Aaron himself is an illustrator as well. He's an inker, but he's also an illustrator. So the book is going to be split in half. There'll be 2 different ongoing stories featuring the character. One 15-page story I'm painting and writing, and another 15-page he's writing and illustrating. And the 2 stories come together after a certain amount of issues. But the only way I can explain the visual of this book is think of that amazing artwork of Batwoman by, what was his name? Is it Williams? J.H. Williams? I don't want to, hold on a second.
Okay.
It's right here in front of me. J.H. Williams.
Yeah.
This guy's work is just astounding.
Yeah, it's really good.
Just his approach, you know, of you know, visual art in the form of a comic book is amazing. And so I just want to break boundaries like he did with Crescent. You know, have no rules with the illustrating style. But yes, she's due to come out by the end of the year, early January.
Very cool. So we got Afro Boy and Puff Girl. We got Rage and Hope. We got Crescent. Big anniversary for Jam Quacky's coming up. You got any plans for the duck?
I was about to say that's it. But you know what? I teased a lot of people on Facebook about a week ago about Jam Quacky.
I saw, yeah.
Threw it out there and I asked. I said, you know, should we put him back out next year, because it's been 30 years as of next year that I first created that character. The response was ridiculous. I didn't even know that many people even knew about Jam Quacky. You know? So yeah, definitely it's got to happen. It's going to happen. Even my wife, who normally says, you know, who normally is like, Reggie, no, you know, she's even like, are we bringing the duck back?
I love it.
Okay.
I told you, I think, or I posted on my Instagram account or something that, you know, that I thought there was only one issue of Jam Quacky. I thought there was only the one issue. And then I found this online comic store that had supposedly issue 3. So I was like, whatever, I'll order it. You know, I mean, it's $6 or whatever, $3. I'll order it, see what it is. And it was Jam Quacky issue 3.
Wow. So you got all of them?
No, I'm missing number 2. Number 2.
That's right. Yep. Okay. So as we finish after this interview, I've got to go find this, because I know I have 2 copies of number 2. I gotta send you one. I gotta send you
then
one.
I'll have the full run. And my issue 3 even came signed by you. It was one of the signed copies. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I will find it. I gotta find it.
I gotta know the full story.
That was crazy. That whole storyline, man. It was written by Gene McDaniels, who God rest his soul, was a songwriter.
Okay.
He wrote and produced a song called 100 Pounds of Clay. That was like his number 1 hit years ago. But actually his main number 1 hit was he wrote Feel Like Making Love for Roberta Flack.
Wow.
He wrote that. And so Gene, I met Gene. I can't remember how I met him, but he was like, I've always wanted to write a comic book. He said, you know, I've heard about your work. He said, do you have anything that you're creating that, you know, you could use a really prolific writer on? I said, yeah, I got this black duck that I'm messing with yet. So I let him write it. I was illustrating. It was just such a quirky series, man. And when you read it, it's like it's so corny, but it's cool at the same time.
It is. I think I oddly awesome. Like when I read issue 1, I mean, it's just one of the weirdest yet neatest things that I've ever read.
You know, and I found an online review of Jam Quacky number 1, and dude was like ripping the book apart. But you know, as he was reviewing, he's ripping it apart. But I'm sitting there reading his review, and I'm not even getting mad because I'm agreeing with him. Like, dude, you're right. But guess what? You liked it, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was just weird. It's like, you know, I mean, if somebody's telling you that, you know, they're making fun of you and they're busting on you on the street, and they're like, going to kick your butt later, you know, and I hope I hurt you. And then you go, no, up with hope and down with dope. It's like, what kind of reply is that?
It is perfect. It is perfect.
It is.
Anybody out there who maybe didn't even know this book existed, find you a copy, get it. It is. It's one of the neatest and one of the oddest things you will ever read.
And that's the challenge, man. Now that Gene's no longer here, the challenge is trying to keep that same feel. I mean, I have that kind of mind, so I have to pull it out of myself and maybe find someone to help write it. Yeah, man, because I watch stuff like regular shows, so I guess it's possible.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Yeah. So you've had a long career in the indie comic industry. There's almost like a resurgence of, I don't want to say indie because I feel like indie books have always been around, but especially Black indie comics right now. There's like this resurgence. Kickstarter has really allowed people to fund their own work finally. And so what advice would you give to others who are wanting to get into the industry?
This is the easiest time to do it, because years and years ago, the main way to get into the industry was, just keep knocking at Marvel or DC's door. I want to draw for you. I want to draw for you. And I was doing the same thing. Before I ran into Kamiko, I was sending submissions right out of art school. I was sending submissions to Marvel, to DC. I had an appointment with Marvel, went up to New York City.
Wow.
I forget who it was that I had the interview with, but he went through my pages and he basically shot me down, was like, keep trying, your perspective is off, your anatomy sucks, but thanks for coming up. So, I enjoyed New York City for the day and went home.
Yeah.
But, getting into the door of the majors is so hard nowadays that the one thing that almost anyone can do now in this age of getting on-demand printing with printers is put it out yourself. Put it out yourself, do it yourself. And the thing that is amazing to understand is that everything that someone creates, there's an audience for it. There's an audience for it. And then you've got the online comics. You can create a comic and then put it online. Like what is the site where, I forget the name, where there's literally thousands and thousands of online comics that you can read.
Yeah.
The app is located in Korea. I can't even remember the name. Their logo is
Drive Through Comics, which has a bunch, and then Indie Planet has a bunch too. I don't know if that's either of the ones you're talking about, but yeah.
What is it? Webtoon. My daughter just told me Webtoon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because the Webtoon has thousands of creators, and someone who wants to get into the industry and create their own comics, they can upload their own comics right then and there, and literally have hundreds and thousands of followers within weeks or months, and then you create your merch, and all of a sudden, if you have the right particular creation, you could be doing this full time on your own without even being carried by a major publisher.
Yeah.
And not putting any money out, because all you do is draw your comic, upload it, and post it, and you've got thousands of people making comments on your comic strip, waiting to read the next installment next week or the next couple of days. But my daughter, she's the gem. Webtoon, that's the #1 right there.
That's awesome. So you heard him. Reggie Byers says, just do it. Just do it. Now's the time.
It's just that easy. It really is.
Let's plug Afro Boy and Puff Girl one more time before we close out. Where can people find that book, and where can they order it from you?
You can get it from www.afroboypuffgirl.com. All one word, of course. I don't think web addresses don't allow for gaps. So afroboypuffgirl.com. There you'll see the comic book available. There's Afro Boy and Puff Girl masks. There's other products that I'm putting on there. There's previews of Rage and Hope that I'm updating every few days. And so I'm really excited. Then probably before we sit down and carve up the turkey for Thanksgiving, you'll see information about Crescent on there.
Awesome. Very good.
By the time we say Merry Christmas and all that, then you'll see something about Little Duck on there.
I can't wait. Yeah. Reggie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate you.
No problem. All right, everybody. Catch us next time, and follow Reggie if you don't already on social media, and go buy his books.